Hello and welcome to another episode of the Disobedient Podcast. This is Saurabh Srivastava, the founder of Planet of Disobedience. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how to be a happy artist. So this is a topic that is very close to my heart because I have myself suffered from, mental illnesses and dark phase of my life where nothing seemed to be going right. Not outside necessarily, just in my own head. I struggled for a long time and finally found my way out of it. And when I see other creative people in the community going through the same things, my heart literally, not literally, but my heart really bleeds. This podcast is just a small step, just a small endeavor of mine to help artists take one step further into being, having healthy mental health for themselves. But before we can get into how you can, take a step towards being a more mentally healthy person, mentally healthy creative, let's look at some reasons why I think most artists lead a sad life or they experience sad or dark emotions more often than other people. Number one is I believe that there is a stereotype of a sad artist. You cannot be a great artist unless and until you have sad or you have something bad or miserable going on in your life. So if you glorify something, you become that, right? All the great people that we know, all the great artists and creators in the past, they had some kind of a weird fucked up life and sad life experiences, and also most of them had a sad ending to their life, and we glorify that, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why artists lead such a sad life, because if you don't aspire to be happy, we can be almost certain that you won't be happy, right? So it's a very subtle form of making an effort. It's not like you become unhappy try to make yourself happy, but in a subtle way you are trying to make certain change in your life to make you get your life in order and things like that, which we'll cover later on in the podcast, that will lead you towards being a happy artist. So yeah, going back, stop believing in this stereotype that in order to be a great artist you need to be a sad artist. Second reason why I feel artists lead such a sad life is because it's really a difficult journey. You are charting, you're creating out your own path. You are leading an off road. You're not going by the highway. You're not going by the rules prescribed by the society. Study this, do that. You're saying, no, I'll create my own way. And then it is supposed to be hard, right? And that hardness does not necessarily need to convert into a mental health issue, but it oftentimes does, because by its very nature, the creative path, the creative journey is a difficult one. And the third issue is, as an artist, it's kind of, we can say it's an occupational hazard that we are very sensitive. We are both sensitive to good emotions and bad emotions, but by the nature of things, bad emotions are more stickier than the good ones. So yeah, it's again something that is inevitable. We have to feel that, we have to go through it, but again, we can train ourselves to be more resilient towards these bad emotions and get out of it, experience it fully, and get out of it much quicker than we are doing right now. So before I deliver upon all the promises that I have made, it's like, how to have your life in order, how to become more resilient and things like that. Let me tell you my story of, overcoming from depression. It was not clinical depression because I never visited a professional and got myself certified, but I read a little bit on the internet, and few of the signs I could relate to is, just like feeling life is hopeless, being sad without any reason, being sad on days on end. So things like that. If we can call it that, I won't call it depression or with some other name. I'll just call it a dark phase, because I don't know if it was depression or if it was just a dark phase or some other technical name. In my college, I was the intellectual guy. I could sit for the whole day, for many hours in a day, and talk up with my friends about the life and meaning of life, purpose of suffering, things like that, right? And I took a lot of pride in being recognized as this person who talked about these things. And then some things happened, and I got into a dark phase. It was a very bad phase of my life. I would remain sad for days and days on end. During that phase, I tried a lot to use my philosophies that I have been, preaching for so long to make myself happy, but none of that worked. I was just as miserable as ever. At that point, I realized that all my philosophies don't, combine all the books that I have read, all the videos that I've watched, all the preachings that I have gave to my friends, they all combined can't put a smile to my face on a bad day, right? So what's the use of all this? And then eventually I got into spirituality, I got into meditation, I got into yoga, and I pulled myself out of that dark phase, and I'm presently in a very good mental health phase. And I'm very thankful to the universe for that. But then I realized that the futility of being an intellectual writer, and that's where I started calling myself as a writer who fell out of love with his words. Because for a long time, I guess for a year or 2 or 3 after that, I did not feel comfortable writing at all, because I was like, again, this is something that could not make me happy. So when I needed it the most, so I understand how fake this all this motivating people and talking about different big philosophies and things are. So I kind of understood the futility of it, but ultimately I got back to it because writing it is one of my core skills, and it was needed there. So I got back to it, but right now, even now, I keep my art of writing at a distance from me. I don't take a lot of pride in myself. Okay, I'm trying to develop my skill of writing. I'm trying to get better and better and better to express myself even better, in a more creative way. But on the other hand, I try to keep it at a distance. I don't attach a lot of ego to it, because then I know it is only going to come back at me and hurt me. So yeah, that is my story of falling in depression, realizing that I took a lot of pride in my art of writing, craft of writing. It did not help me, and then eventually falling back into writing again, but learning how to keep it at a distance. As I said, I to get out of my depression and my sad phase in my life, a big factor was getting into spirituality, being initiated into a particular meditative practice, and that all helped. And obviously I know that if you're just listening to it, tomorrow you cannot, or even today evening, you cannot find a guru and get initiated into a meditative practice. So I have created a checklist of things that you can begin doing today or tomorrow to ensure that you start taking little micro steps towards becoming a more mentally healthy, creative person. So here is my checklist. I'm calling it the happiness checklist. Number one is have a routine. Have a routine. When are you going to sleep every day? When are you going to wake up? You don't need to sleep at 9 and wake up at 4 a.m. It's okay if you're going to sleep at 1 a.m. after watching movies or watching Netflix for 3 hours. It's okay. Go to sleep at 1 or even 2, wake up at 9 or 10. But have a fixed schedule. Okay, I will sleep at 1, I'll wake up at 10. So having this structure will give a lot of stability to your life. Second is have your eating time ready. So I'll wake up, I'll take a bath, and I'll go poop, take a bath and whatever, and then I'll at 11 I'll have my I'll have my brunch, or I'll have my breakfast, and then at this time I'll have my lunch, at this time I'll have my dinner. So if you just fix this, your sleeping and your eating time, this haywire nature of your day, your lifestyle would be settled to a great extent, and in that itself you will find a lot of stability and a lot of mental health benefits. The second is to eat good food. Look at the things that you're eating. In yoga we say that what you eat, your stomach is directly connected to your head. So what you eat will directly impact how you feel. So if you're eating a lot of crappy food, you will be feeling crappy. So try to include raw fruits, vegetables, fresh food into your diet. Third is to take enough rest. If you are just sleeping for 4 hours every night, try to bring it to 7 or 8 or whatever hours that you are comfortable with. Maybe for a few days you would have to experiment and see. One day sleep 7 hours and see how you feel. One day sleep 8 hours, see how you feel. One day sleep 6 hours and see how you feel. Whichever number of hours that you are most comfortable with, that's your sleep quota. Try to have that. Don't go too much above that, because otherwise you will become lazy and you won't be liking doing anything, because you are not at your fullest. And if you sleep less than that, obviously we all know that it's not good for your health. The next is start curbing your bad habits. You might have a lot of bad habits, all of us do. It might not be very feasible also to start working on all the bad habits at a single time. Pick up one thing And I'm not even asking you to just quit it. If you're smoking, I'm not asking you to quit smoking today itself. Try to reduce it. If you're smoking 10 cigarettes, come back to 2 cigarettes. So what will happen is you'll feel a sense of control. It's like it was a bad habit that you have been a slave of since years and years, and now you have started controlling it. So once you start having some control in a particular area of your life, all other areas of your life suddenly seem to be getting in control by themselves. So take one of your bad habits. It could just be, eating, midnight snacking. Just take one habit and try to curb it. Try to minimize it. Try to reduce it. Then I would say take up at least 10 to 15 minutes every day and sit down and meditate. If you don't find anything, just look up on YouTube and find some guided meditation and try to sit down in peace. Don't try to control your thoughts. Just sit down, observe your thoughts, and be there. So it's just introduce some small meditative practice. I'm not saying that from tomorrow you'll be, exploding in bliss with your meditative practice. It takes time and it takes some trial and error to find a practice that is suited to your needs. So I would say keep on exploring. The next is create content for the internet, not art. What I mean is, to be a content creator, to be a creative content creator on the internet, you have to display two aspects. One is that of a creative person, that of an artist. The second is that of content creator. Whenever you put out your art, your core art, take a snap of your painting and put it on. Don't look at its insides. It's not supposed to get thousands of views because it's not tailored according to social media algorithm. What you should measure is what other type of content that you're putting around your art, how well that is doing. For example, if you're putting up some memes, did it perform well? Did it not perform well? If you put out some, a day in my life, did it perform well or did it not perform well? If you put up your work in progress process, your WIP or your behind the scenes video on that, or some snaps on that, or you just wrote a post and posted it somewhere about your creative process, is it performing well? So judge your content, not your art. That is what I mean. And the next is to have a long-term vision for how you want to proceed. Whatever long-term means to you. When we think about people like Gary Vaynerchuk or Seth Godin talk about long-term, it's very kind of, it's discouraging, because for them, they are at a stage in their life, for them, long-term means until the day I die. And when you are in your teens or in your 20s, that's a difficult goal to imagine, right? You're not thinking about, when I'm dying, when I'm in my 80s, what do I want to achieve? No, you don't have that much patience. So whatever level of patience that you have, think in that long term. If you can only think 3 months from now, have that goal as yourself. It's much better than thinking 3 hours from now or 3 days from now, where do I want to be. It will bring a lot of peace and bring a lot of stability and a lot of confidence in your life, because whatever it is that you want to achieve, you at least have 3 months for that. So yeah, these were the things that I would start doing if I was not in a very good place mentally in my life. And believe me, in a week or so, you will start seeing massive benefits. One other item in the checklist, kind of a bonus point that I would like to give, is to have an internal metrics for yourself. We judge our success and our happiness related to our creative process is often, we give it out to external metrics. So if I'm posting a reel every day, if the reel performs good, I'll feel happy. If my post gets these many likes, I'll feel happy. If I get a follower, I'll feel happy. But these things are, external metrics. These are external things. It's like tying your internal, the core thing, your happiness, to a very random and very vulnerable thing outside. And if you do that, it's very natural that you would not be happy, because you have tied your happiness to something that is external, that is not in your control. I preach this concept of having internal metrics. The metrics for your happiness and success should be the ones that you can control. That could be number of hours you are putting into your craft every week, number of courses you are taking every month, or number of artworks that you are creating, number of people related to your field that you are connecting to. So have very tangible. You write it down somewhere. Pick one of those metrics or a couple of these metrics, and every week or every day or every month, whatever frequency that you have decided for yourself, sit down and track how good are you doing on these metrics. And whenever you do a good enough job, give yourself a pat on the back. Why? Because you want to set it up internally that these are the metrics that I calculate my success on, and that would lead to a lot of happiness in your life, because now your happiness, your satisfaction, your fulfillment, your success is not related to what is happening outside, because that's anyway not in your control. You are calculating what you are doing, and that's your source of happiness.